Hey folks, here's a video tutorial to show you how to make this elf set to fit the Ballyhoo Creations dolls. It has the boots, a couple of mittens, and then the hat, all done in the hoop. You can get all of these machine embroidery files at ballyhoocreations.com. I've hooped some tearaway stabilizer. See, I tore it there just to show you it's tearaway. And then I've used the printout template that comes with the elf set design. I'm using a 8x5 piece of stretch fabric for the hat, folded in half, and then the collar I just put a 3x3 to make sure I've got the right size there. The mittens are a 2x3 piece of felt, 2 pieces of that actually, and then 2 pieces of 5.5 by 2.5 felt for the boots there on the black. So stitch color 1, that's going to do the outline for the hat. It even has the word fold for the fold line where you need to place your fabric. And it has a little arrow for the stretch, and I realize you can't see what I'm telling you, so I'm just going to cut away that stabilizer, get it out of the way. See the little stretch arrow shows you the direction of stretch. This is folded in half. I'm going to place the fold on that fold line, and then I'll do the seam. That's color 2, and it will stitch all the way up to the tip, and then it'll come all the way back again, and then the tails of the thread will not be at the end. They'll be kind of there on the side, you see. And then color 3 is going to do the outline for the boots. We'll just speed through that. That's about twice as fast. So my machine's not really that fast, but it would be great if it was. 2 pieces of the 5.5 by 2.5 felt. Just place those in that placement box and start stitching. If you need to use a glue stick or something to hold it down, you can, but typically once the first few stitches go down, it'll stay where it needs to go. So those are the boots, and I've actually used a variegated thread there. And then color, let's see, color 5 is the placement for the collar. I'm going to place a 3x3 piece of felt in there and stitch that. And then the next placement stitch will be for the mittens over on that left upper corner. And then 2 pieces of the 2x3 felt for the mittens. Stitch those up, and I wanted to show you, you can just move the hat out of the way if it's in the way there. Use some kind of tool to move your fabric. Taking everything off the machine, I'm going to leave it in the hoop, trim up all these little jump threads, clean that up because the backside will show, so you want to get those trimmed off, and then leave it in the hoop so it's easier to tear off of the tearaway stabilizer. The tension of the hoop actually helps get those off much more easily. There are some jump threads that will stay behind, so just keep your scissors handy in case you need to trim those. It's easier to tear away from the point, so I'm tearing each point of that petal towards the center. Same with the boots. And it's easier if you cut those apart. Sorry about the lighting there. Some exposure issues. There's one of those threads you need to cut at the top and bottom of the hat. It's part of the basting threads. They won't hurt anything, just go ahead and trim those away. I'm going to cut the hat. Make sure you don't cut the fold. You want to cut the excess away from the fold, and then just trim the top and bottom. Turn the hat inside out. Removing that stabilizer from each of the pieces now. Now it's time to cut these out from the felt. Use sharp scissors that are precise and something that are easy for you to get into small spaces with. Just cutting little pie wedges from that collar, and then cut around the edges to cut out the inner circle. That'll be where the neck goes. And then just making some curved cuts all the way around to cut out the petals. I'll show you a little trick with the mittens after you get them cut out this way. Ignore that little divot there, and then clip 1, clip 2, and that'll get you really close between the thumb and the fingers there. Clip one, clip two. And just kind of clean that up. Some tips on cutting felt. First of all, you need very sharp scissors. Hold your scissors still and move your shape like this. You see my scissors are pretty much pointing in the same direction and I'm moving the shape. Now it's time to put the mittens and boots on, and I will show you the mistake that I made here. I had this doll that was already stuffed, and getting an already stuffed doll into the mittens and boots is tougher than you might think. I was able to manage it, but I don't recommend doing it this way. So let's start over. I've got a different doll here. And this one I'm going to put some pipe cleaners in for some very light wiring. This is not the wired armature doll that there's a separate video, or there will be a separate video for that one. This one just has some pipe cleaners so you can pose the arms and legs a little bit. So I've put the pipe cleaner, one from the foot all the way up the body and down the arm, and then on the other side I repeated with another pipe cleaner, and now I'm just twisting a loop for a third pipe cleaner to go in the neck and the body. This is kind of like the lazy way of doing a wired armature. This doll won't be able to stand up on its own, but it's going to have those boots on, and those won't stand anyway, so that's fine. And with the pipe cleaner in there, I was able to get the foot into one of the boots. It does take a little bit of messing with, but it did work. It's not a very strong pipe cleaner. And since I have hemostats, I decided to just go ahead and use the hemostats on the other one. It's much faster. I actually recommend hemostats, a large pair and a small pair, for any of the Ballyhoo projects, any of the dolls. They are an indispensable tool. So both boots are on. Go ahead and squeeze the arm in. So I had to have the arms wide enough so that you can turn them inside out, but I had to have the mittens small enough so that they didn't look like gigantic oven mitts. So it is a little bit of a tight squeeze. You can also poke something down in the arm and put the mitten on that way. That worked pretty well. Right, so boots and mittens are all on. Just kind of straighten out those edges. And I realized I like the thumbs to be pointing up, but on one of them it's pointing down, but once I pose her hand, it'll be fine. And then a little bit of stuffing in her body. I think a little bit in the thighs as well. And then I went ahead and I'll glue her up. There's a different video that talks about how to make the bodies and heads for these dolls. And then here's the elf collar. And I've got the head and the wig. They're not glued together yet. Just turn the edges under on your hat and then stretch it to fit over the head. It's kind of tricky because her wig is not attached yet. And then I like to go ahead and glue the pieces on, just a little squirt of fabric glue. A few points under the hat, probably 1 point under each mitten and boot will hold those on. And she'll be good to go. Pose her around. Maybe do something with the leg. There we go. Now she's animated. But actually I didn't want to use the collar on this one. The whole reason I chose that mint fabric was to use this red and mint wired ribbon that I have, so I like that better. So that's how they're done. Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, she's gonna lose her head. Here's the red set I was working on in the beginning of the video. There's 2 of them, they're all glued up. I hand stitched some bells onto the boots and then used some baker's twine to stitch on the hats, bells onto the hats. Here's a close-up of the boots with the bells. And a close-up of the faces. You can see the little bells attached with the twine. And then the mint elf I was working on with the white mittens and the black boots. She's all finished. Like if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more, and visit ballyhoocreations.com to check out these quirky characters for the Inspired Sewist.